Ooh, yes, I can. Okay. He took up his fiddle and fiddled away till the wood responded with his music. Presently up came a wolf. "Dear me, there's a wolf coming to see me," said the musician. But the wolf came up to him and said, "How very prettily you play. I wish you to teach me." "That is easily done," said the musician. "If you will only do what I bid you." "Yes," replied the wolf, "I shall be a very apt scholar." So they went on a little way together, and came last to an old oak tree that was hollow within, and a large crack in the middle of the trunk. "Look there," said the musician. "If you wish to learn to fiddle, put your forehead into that crack." The wolf did as he was bid, but the musician picked up a large stone and wedged both his forefeet fast into the crack, so as to make him a prisoner. "Now be so good as to wait there till I come back," said he, and jogged on. After a while he said again to himself, "Time goes very heavily. I must find another companion." So he took his fiddle and fiddled away again in the wood. Presently came a fox that was wandering close by. "Ah, there is a fox," said he. The fox came up and said, "You delightful musician, how prettily you play. I must and will learn to play as you do." "That you may soon do," said the musician, "if you do as I tell you." "That I will," said the fox. So they traveled on together till they came to a narrow footpath with high bushes on each side. The musician bent a stout hazel stem down to the ground from one side of the path and set his foot on the top. And held it fast, and bent another from the other side, and said to the fox, "Now, pretty fox, if you want to fiddle, give me hold of your left paw." So the fox gave him his paw, and he tied it fast to the top of one of the hazel stems. "Now give me your right," he said, and the fox did as he was told. Then the musician tied that paw to the other hazel, and took off his foot, and away up flew the bushes, and the fox too, and hung sprawling and swinging in the air. "Now be so kind as to stay there till I come back," said the musician, and jogged on. But he soon said to himself, "Time begins to hang heavy. I must find a companion." So he took up his fiddle and fiddled away divinely. Then up came a hare running along. "Ah, there is a hare," said the musician, and the hare said to him, "You are a fine fiddler. How beautifully you play. Will you teach me?" "Yes," said the musician, "I will soon do that, if you will follow my orders." "Yes," said the hare, I shall make a good scholar." Then they went on together very well for a long while, till they came to an open space in the wood. The musician tied a string around the hare's neck and fastened the other end to a tree. "Now," said he, "pretty hare, quick, jump about, run round the tree 20 times." So the silly hare did as she was bid, and when she had run 20 times around the tree, she had twisted the string 20 times around the trunk, and was fast prisoner, and she might pull and pull away as long as she pleased, and only pulled the string around her neck. "Now, wait till I come back," said the musician. But the wolf had pulled and bitten and scratched at the stone a long while, till at last he had got his feet out and was at liberty. Then he said in a great passion, "I will run after that rascally musician and tear him to pieces." As the fox saw him run by, he said, "Ah, brother wolf, pray let me down. The musician has played tricks on me." So the wolf set to work at the bottom of the hazel stem and bit it in two. And away went both together to find the musician. And as they came to the hare, she cried out too for help. So they went and set her free, and all followed the enemy together. Meantime, the musician had been fiddling away and found another companion, for a poor woodcutter had been pleased with the music and could not help following him with his axe under his arm. The musician was pleased to get a man for his companion, and behaved very civilly to him, and played him no tricks, but stopped and played his prettiest tunes till his heart overflowed for joy. While the woodcutter was standing listening, he saw the wolf, the fox, and the hare coming, and knew by their faces that they were in a great rage, and coming to do some mischief. So he stood before the musician with his great axe, as much as to say, "No one shall hurt him as long as I have this axe." And when the beasts saw this, they were so frightened that they ran back to the wood, into the wood. Then the musician played the woodcutter one of his best tunes for his pains, and went on with his journey. That's the end? I guess we were supposed to be cheering for the musician in that? Are you sure that's the end? The Queen Bee. Two kings' sons once upon a time went out into the world to seek their fortunes, but they soon fell into a wasteful, foolish way of living, so that they could not return home again. Then their young brother, who was a little insignificant dwarf, went out to seek for his brothers, but when he had found them, they only laughed at him, to think that he, who was so young and simple, should try to travel through the world, when they, who were so much wiser, had been able to get on. However, they all set out on their journey together and came at last to an anthill. The two elder brothers would have pulled it down in order to see how the poor ants in their fright would run about and carry off their eggs. But the little dwarf said, "Let the poor things enjoy themselves. I will not suffer you to trouble them." So on they went and came to a lake where many, many ducks were swimming about. The two brothers wanted to catch two and roast them, but the dwarf said, "Let the poor things enjoy themselves. You shall not kill them." Next they came to a bee's nest in a hollow tree, and there was so much honey that it ran down the trunk, and the two brothers wanted to light a fire under the tree and kill the bees so as to get their honey. But the dwarf held them back and said, "Let the pretty insects enjoy themselves. I cannot let you burn them." At length the three brothers came to a castle, and as they passed by the stables, they saw fine horses standing there, but all were of marble, and no man was to be seen. Then they went through all the rooms until they came to a door on which there were 3 locks, but in the middle of the door was a wicket, so that they could look into the next room. There they saw a little gray old man sitting at a table, and they called to him once or twice, but he did not hear. However, they called a 3rd time, and then he rose and came out to them. As he said nothing, but took hold of them and led them to a beautiful table covered with all sorts of good things. And when they had eaten and drunk, he showed that each of them to a bedchamber. The next morning he came to the eldest and took him to a marble table where were 3 tablets containing an account of the means by which the castle might be disenchanted. The first tablet said, "In the woods under the moss lie the 1,000 pearls belonging to the king's daughter. They must all be found, and if one be missing by set of the sun, he who seeks them will be turned into marble." The eldest brother set out and sought for the pearls the whole day, but the evening came, and he had not found the first 100. So he was turned into stone, as the tablet had foretold. The next day the second brother undertook the task, but he succeeded no better than the first, for he could only find the second 100 pearls, and therefore he turned into stone. At last came the little dwarf's turn, and he looked in the moss, but it was so hard to find the pearls, and the job was so tiresome, so he sat down upon a stone and cried. And as he sat there, the king of the ants, whose life he had saved, came to help him with 5,000 ants, and it was not long before they had found all the pearls and laid them in a heap. The second tablet said, "The key of the princess's bedchamber must be fished up out of the lake." And as the dwarf came to the brink of it, he saw the 2 ducks, whose lives he had saved swimming about. And they dived down and soon brought the key from the bottom. The 3rd task was the hardest. It was to choose out the youngest and the best of the king's 3 daughters. Now, they were all beautiful, and all exactly alike, but he was told that the eldest had eaten a piece of sugar, the next some sweet syrup, and the youngest a spoonful of honey. So he was to guess which it was that had eaten the honey. Then came the queen of the bees, who had been saved by the little dwarf from the fire, and she tried the lips of all three, but at last she sat upon the lips of the one who had eaten the honey, and so the dwarf knew which was the youngest. Thus the spell was broken, and all who had been turned to stone awoke, and took their proper forms, and the dwarf married the youngest and the best of the princesses, and was king after her father's death. But his two brothers married the other two sisters. The Dog and the Sparrow. A shepherd's dog had a master who took no care of him, but often let him suffer the great hunger. At last he could bear it no longer, so he took to his heels, and he ran off in a very sad and sorrowful mood. On the road he met a sparrow that said to him,
"Why are you so sad, my friend?"
"Because," said the dog, "I am very, very hungry and have nothing to eat."
"If that be all," answered the sparrow, "come with me into the next town, and I will soon find you plenty of food." Speaking of food, it's dinner time.